Good morning, YouTube. This is the Atheist Chef. If you may have seen, kind of scattered throughout the past few days, there was a football player, Benjamin Watson, was on CNN, and he was actually talking about a essay that he created a few days ago, and it actually got him on CNN, and he actually covered a good bit of the essay on the news, and everything was hunky-dory. However, at one point, he actually was cut off. Now, Christians were very upset by this, and I mean, it's an interesting point. Like, why was he cut off? So let's go over the videos and let's see if we can piece together what happened, shall we?
Salvation for this sin is the gospel. The only way to really cure that what's on the inside is understanding that Jesus Christ died for our sins. And so, to me, on a micro level, it's understanding.
Oh, and just like that, we lost him.
Now, in this clip, they actually repeat what just happened, but I'm just going to cut that out. So what we see here is Benjamin Watson talking about Jesus, and he gets cut off. Now, this really pissed off some Christians because, oh my goodness, finally someone's talking about God on news for once, and they cut him off. They're cutting off the gospel. Well, my problem with this is this. The first bit about it is, let's look at what footage we saw maybe about 10 minutes before.
I'm encouraged because of this. I'm encouraged because ultimately the problem is not a skin problem, it's a sin problem. Sin is the reason we rebel against authority. Sin is the reason we abuse our authority. Sin is the reason we are racist, prejudiced, and lie to cover for our own. Sin is the reason we riot, we loot, and we burn. But I'm encouraged because God has provided a solution for sin through his son Jesus, and with it, a transformed mind and heart, one that's capable of looking past the outward and seeing what's truly important in every human being. The cure for Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, and Eric Garner tragedy is not education or exposure, it's the gospel. So finally, I'm encouraged because the gospel gives mankind hope. I think it was what a lot of people were thinking, but didn't quite know how to express it. And for whatever reason, God gave me the words to put on paper, and it kind of resonated with a lot of people. But I think it's really important that we take a step back sometimes and think about the other side before we make accusations and assumptions.
Ben Watson says something here, so Christians, I want you to listen to this part.
I think it's really important that we take a step back sometimes and think about the other side before we make accusations and assumptions.
Now, of course, Ben Watson was not referring to CNN and Christians and their accusations about cutting Ben off, but yet it works, and here's why. If we look at the screenshot here, we can see that the clock says that it's 2:48 on the top right-hand corner. Now, I cut off about 40 seconds or so to get right to the part, so the clock actually did say about 2:47, okay? So that's a 2:47 when we see this image. From what we can see here is that this video starts at 2:59, which is 10 minutes after the last video in which he was talking about God and the gospel and sin and Jesus, but he didn't get cut off. I wonder why that is. So let's look back at the video and see if we can find any more clues.
Salvation for this sin is the gospel. The only way to really cure that what's on the inside is understanding that Jesus Christ died for our sins. And so, to me, on a micro level, it's understanding.
Benjamin Watson gets cut off at exactly 3 o'clock. That's a mighty fine coincidence, don't you think? You may feel that this isn't making a strong enough of a case, so let me throw in my last little bit of evidence, and let's just see if that holds up.
Just like that, we lost him. I know, I heard you guys rapping me. I just couldn't let him go. Benjamin Watson, thank you so much. Good luck in the game Sunday. I'm Brooke Baldwin. See you Monday.
Do you see how toward the end there she started to wrap it up really, really fast and try to talk really fast so she can get it before the end of the show was over? It's because the show was wrapping up and she had to say her last words in before she got cut off because they were moving on to the next segment. That's why they cut Benjamin Watson off, because he was talking a lot. And you can actually see about a minute or so before she actually responds. Like, you can see her kind of jump a little bit like she needed to do something, but she couldn't find an edge to be able to get in. So the producers had to cut him for her. And like you said, you can see in the video how she felt bad about it because she just couldn't let him go. She wanted to keep letting him talk. But let's just go a little bit further into this. I played footage of him reading part of his essay in which he talked about God and Jesus and the gospel and sin. They invited him onto the show because it got viral and it was very, a lot of people were into it, and it was about the Ferguson thing. They let him onto the show knowing that he was going to be reading from that essay which mentioned that. Why would they do that? Why would they invite a Christian onto the show and then try and cut him off? They're not stupid. That's one of those things that's going to go off in their head like, hey, he's a Christian and his essay talked about God, so he's probably going to talk about God. I don't know what it is about some of you Christians and this persecution complex that you have. There are instances where Christians are getting persecuted. I will not say otherwise. It's obvious. But when you are going to accuse somebody of something, really try to get all of the facts in the matter, will you? Okay, thanks. This is the Atheist Chef signing off. Peace.